Hi, welcome back. Before we get started with Chapter 5, few things I want to go over. If you notice this week, you will see a grading rubric that is posted for your online discussion questions. So moving forward, I need all of you to take a look at that, hold yourself accountable. With every discussion post, there's certain criteria that you will need to meet to get full points moving forward. For example, spell check, grammar, punctuation. You're going to need to make sure that each one of these little posts, it's not an informal post. You should be treating it like a mini paper, even if it is a paragraph, making sure that you're using proper grammar, punctuation, capitalizing letters properly. Also, I'm going to be expecting that you're not just giving your own opinions to things, but you're utilizing the textbook. You're taking direct quotes from the book. Ideas, you're citing the book. That's very important. I'm also going to be asking that you're utilizing outside sources. Remember, most of these questions are on a company of your choice. Therefore, I know this shouldn't all be general knowledge that you have of these companies. You should be utilizing their website, publications, articles that you found on their site. Please take a look at that. If you have any questions, you know what I'm going to say next, please send me an email, all right? Next, I want to address, there's been some emails to me, which I'm very happy about, clarification on assignments, due dates, what have you, and that's fine. I encourage you to keep emailing me those, but many of you are just kind of assuming that I know what class you're in. So some of you are in multiple classes, some of you I know you by name, but don't always identify what class you're in. So moving forward, what I'm going to need you to do in that subject line is write HSMA 2172 / BUSN 1159 followed by question. Then when I get that email, I understand exactly what class it is. And then when you tell me exactly what the issue is, I know all ahead. I'm not flipping through 2 or 3 different classes to find out what class you're talking about. Hope that makes sense to you. So again, any question you have, depending on what class it is, make sure in that subject line you're putting the name of the class, the identification number, along with question. That'll help me out. Really, it'll save me time. I'll be able to get a response to your question back in a much timelier manner. Next, grading. I'm grading as much as I can. I want everyone to be patient with me. As soon as grades are ready, they'll be submitted in your grade book. There are a lot of discussion questions with a lot of answers, a lot of replies. I'm not the type of instructor that's just going to throw a grade at you. If there's something that I think that you're not understanding, I want to be able to address that, give you the opportunity to re-answer the question, or as long as you understand, we can move forward. But grades will be posted as soon as possible in a timely manner. I promise you I'm not slacking off. And then kind of finally, you'll notice that quizzes moving forward, I don't put a due date on those. So I recommend that they're done at 11:59 on Tuesday, but I really want to be respectful of your busy lives. I know some of you are going to school part-time, full-time. Again, you've got full-time jobs, you have children, or you have significant others that act like children, so it's just as tough for you. I want to be respectable, so I really want during that week that you're sticking to those deadlines of posting your responses by deadline, posting your replies or your follow-up questions to your peers, and then try to get done those quizzes by that following Monday at 11:59. But if you need Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, try to get it done as soon as possible. With that being said, I am holding you accountable to those. I'm not going to chase you down. So at the end of the semester, if you've completed 2 of the 15 quizzes, do the math. Chances are you're not passing the class, and hopefully you don't have to see this video again next semester. So really hold yourself accountable. Get those in as soon as possible, but understand I am going to give you a little bit of a leeway to get those in. All right? Those are pretty easy. Most of you did pretty well. I could tell that some of you had to rush to get through it. So some of you didn't get the grades that you probably anticipated that you would. So make sure you do the reading, check out the PowerPoints, respond to the questions, and then when you are ready, and feel free, if you're not ready, email me with some questions. I give you even kind of a little description moving forward of what to make sure to study before you take those quizzes. Make sure you know the answers before you enter that, that quiz. You'll notice this week you have a light week. You have one chapter to read. Really, throughout the rest of the semester, each week until that final week, you have only one chapter to read. So the reading shouldn't be intense. This week I'm giving you only one question on 3 different areas that I'm going to talk about in a few moments. So really this week should be easier, lighter. With that being said, with this one answer, I really want you to practice what's in that grading rubric so that you're proofreading before you push that little submit, that you are not just giving your own ideas, but you're backing that up by information, by ideas and theories that we've talked about in the textbook, and then that you're also applying outside resources through the company, through the company's website, through a publication that you found that's mentioning the company, whatever you find fit, but that you're utilizing your opinions, the book, also outside sources. Excuse me. So let's move right into chapter 5. I want to remind you, marketing, any information that we do in marketing, we're doing it to create value for our customers. Remember, to build those meaningful relationships with them. Without our customers, we are not in business. So really marketing, what we're doing is figuring out the wants and needs of our customers. So I'm reminding you that's pretty much the purpose of why we are marketing our product, why we're doing any type of research, which we'll talk about today. The text talks about the information, the marketing information system. So this is directly from the book. It consists of people, equipment, procedures to gather, sort, evaluate, and distribute needed, timely, and accurate information to market decision makers. So who are market decision makers? Depends on the company. It could be the general manager, it could be the marketing manager, the director of sales and marketing, it could be the operations manager. Depends on the organization, depends on the choice that needs to be made. It talks about a good marketing information system balances information that managers would like to have against what they really need in what is really feasible to obtain. I know a lot of times, even in my current job, I want so much information, or I know what my goal is, and I go to our research department, I say, well, I need all of these things. A lot of times I don't need all of those things. They talk to me, they ask specific questions that really gear, my answers gear their choices and what actual reports, what information I truly need, all right? So a good marketing information system asks the right questions and gathers the correct and most feasible information in a timely manner, because time is money, all right? We learn in this chapter, and this is what we're going to talk about really with our one discussion question this week, that information needed by marketing managers can be obtained from three main sources. One, internal company records, or what we'll refer to as internal data. 2, marketing intelligence. And then finally, through conducting marketing research. So internal data, what we first start with. Internal data is defined as information gathered from sources within the company, hence internal, gathered from sources within the company to evaluate marketing performance and to detect marketing problems and potential opportunities. So that's internal data. Let me give you quickly just some ideas. And there's a wealth of information in this chapter, really great examples from Arby's, from McDonald's, from other companies. So they really give you great examples. So hopefully you're reading these chapters, following along with the PowerPoints, not just looking at my quick videos. But hopefully you're looking at the videos as well. So internal data talks about guest history. So a lot of our property management systems at hotels, our point of sale systems, they gather information for us that they store that we can utilize in the future. So an example is, I know what type of room one of my frequent, or someone that even comes once a year, what type of room they like, what type of amenities they like, what type of soda they like in their room, or what they order from room service. That's valuable information that I can use. Comment cards, our text talks about, that's an internal. What we worry about with comment cards, our textbook tells us that only 1 to 2% really give us feedback, and that 1 to 2% is someone that had a really great time or a really bad time. So I caution you really take that with a grain of salt, the information that we gain from comment cards. Simply listening to guests. The text talks about something that I used to do at my property, is having kind of a reception, a cocktail hour with not just the book talks about your regular guests. Open it up to everyone. Have some bite-sized finger foods and some champagne or a couple bottles of wine, and invite your guests to talk about their experiences, their likes, their dislikes, ways we can improve. I would love to say it's free. It's not free because there's a cost for the the food and beverage, but still a very inexpensive way to gain valuable experience internally from our guests. And then finally, it was mystery shoppers the text talks about that we can utilize to gain information. Next is marketing intelligence. One difference between marketing intelligence and marketing research that our text talks about that I do want you to know is marketing intelligence is something that is ongoing, consistently ongoing. You don't stop with marketing intelligence. Our text talks about both internal sources and external sources. Internally, it gives us a great example of the general manager from the Hilton in New York City who spent some time in Japan, and he ended up changing his menu at his restaurant in New York City because of his experiences in Japan. So while he was dining, and it was a Japanese soup he had for breakfast, he realized as much as our guests come to New York or to Minnesota, wherever our destination is here, they like to try our food, new food, to experience a new culture, but a lot of times they miss home too, and they want the comforts of home. So what this GM did is decided that he would implement a type of soup on their menu in New York to really give the comforts of home. Just these little tiny touch points to make their Asian guests, who they had a lot of Asian guests, a lot from Japan, that came to stay in New York, feel a little bit more like at home. So really cool internal story. Next, the text talks about an external story. It talks about an executive, I believe the former executive for British Airlines, who decided externally to go investigate EasyJet. EasyJet is a regional discount based in the UK, but does regional local. I would compare it to kind of our Southwest or our JetBlue, who now does a little bit internationally, but mainly does domestic, low-cost budget airfare. So that's EasyJet in the UK and in Europe. So he investigated, through talking to the founder of the company, how their business works, and really took those ideas and applied it to British Airlines. So really copied or mimicked what EasyJet was doing to now take British Airlines, which has been known very much as an international, larger airline, and really to compete against these more budget, domestic, or regional carriers to make them more competitive in not just the international market, but also in these domestic markets as well. So that's an example of external sources. And then finally, our textbook talks about marketing research. Marketing research, different than marketing intelligence, that is ongoing, has a beginning and an end. It's a 4-step process. If you turn to page 132, figure 5.2 shows you these 4 steps in the process. I'm not going to hold you accountable for memorizing them. Just know where they are on a quiz that you can easily access them. But there's 4 steps. One is defining the problem and then creating objectives, research objectives. That's your first step in marketing research. Second is to develop the research plan for collecting the information. So how are you going to collect information? Third step is going to be implementing the research plan. So when you're done with the research, you have the ideas, you're implementing it. And finally is interpreting and reporting the findings. So that's the 4-step. Just know the 4 steps. All right, when we continue on, a lot of these ideas, when we continue on in the chapter and the course, they're going to make more sense to you. We'll be able to apply them more. Know that there's 4 steps in the process. So what type of research can we conduct? Well, there's 2 types that I really want you to focus on. 1, primary research. 2, secondary research. So we're going to start off with secondary research. Secondary research is generally much easier to find, all right? It's cheaper to obtain. It's ideas, it's research done by others that you find and you can apply to your issue. All right, so example, if I want to attract more baby boomers to my hotel, I can go online to probably Normandale's database, and I could find a wealth of information about what baby boomers like in restaurants or hotels or whatever your business is. And then I could apply that to mine. It's cheap, it takes a lot less time, but what's some of the issues with that? It's a lot of time it could be outdated. Even 6 months in the hospitality industry can be outdated. One of your fellow students is helping me with some research on HR issues, and we're doing some curriculum development and some competencies that students in hospitality need to know when they graduate. And we're finding that there's not tons of research that's been done since 2010. So a lot of the research is good research, but it dates back from 2010, 2009, 8, all the way back into the 80s. So really our issue is this is great, but is it still relevant? Do managers still want these things? So secondary research is good, a wealth of it out there, cheap, timely. However, what we will end up doing is utilizing primary research because we want to make sure that it's very current and that it's very relevant to our objectives and what our research question is right now. So what are some examples of primary research? Well, we can gain some quantitative data through conducting surveys, all right? That could be either online or we could do those through mail. We can do surveys over the telephone, however we want to do that. We could also gain some qualitative research through focus groups, bringing in 6 or 10 individuals and asking them about our curriculum, if we're talking about this subject, or if it's a Arby's or Subway, asking them about their products and their service and seeing how they respond. That's more qualitative responses that we're getting. We could just sit back through observation, watch people consume our products and our services and see how they react. We could also hold experiments. That's another primary that could give us both quantitative or qualitative responses. So that's an example of that kind of last piece, marketing research. We talked about 4 steps in the process. You can do either primary research, you can do secondary research. Your research can be quantitative, can be qualitative. That is all here in chapter 5. So if I went through that very quickly, I'm sorry. Glance through, understand this material. As I say always, if you have questions, please email me. So I'm going to end with that this week. Please make sure you're reading the chapter, looking at the objectives, looking at the chapter review at the end of the text, looking at those PowerPoint notes, your discussion questions. You're utilizing that grading rubric. You're giving your own opinions, which I absolutely love, but you're also giving the ideas of the textbook along with outside sources. So I wish you a really great week. If there's anything I can do for you, please send me an email, call me during my office hours, and I hope you have a really great week. Look forward to seeing you next week.